Hey everybody, before I get started, I just want to mention a couple of ways that you can engage with me on a more personal level. I have a few avenues set up and I keep focusing on one, and I figured, why don't I make a short little video talking about all of them real quick before we get into these episodes. So first thing, Patreon. There's a link in the episode description and every episode description to the Patreon, as well as a video on the feed called Major Announcement that has all the details of what each tier offers and how much they cost. I implore you to check that out. I offer a lot of cool shit for my patrons. Second thing, the Discord channel. There's also a Discord link in the episode description and in every episode description. I have multiple channels set up there for each show that I'm covering, and it's a great way to just engage with me. I have a channel set up for MMA talk as well. I'm a big MMA fan, so if you're an MMA fan, you can check that out as well. There's a link to the Discord in the episode description. And then lastly, the Facebook and Twitter. Social media. Follow me on there. I post news on there. When I say news, I mean like, hey, I'm stopping covering this show. Hey, I'm starting covering this show. Let me know what you think about this. I do live watches of things on Facebook where like I'll check in and say, I'm watching so-and-so show. And then I'll like live comment while I'm watching it. And that'll be cool if maybe you watch that show too and you want to watch along with me, or you're watching it later and you will see my thoughts, which are usually pretty entertaining because I'm usually pretty high when I'm writing them. So check out all those links in each episode description, and let's talk about this episode. Peace.
One mic. Yeah. All I need is one mic. Yeah. All I need is one mic.
Hey everybody, welcome back to One Mic, and today I'm here to talk about Season 1, Episode 5 of Showtime's The Curse, entitled It's a Good Day. The episode title here, I think, refers to two things. Very obviously, it refers to the caption on the Instagram photo of Mark. He's the guy who it looks like Asher and Whitney are going to be selling a home to. I'm going to talk a little bit about that scene later. And then I think it also refers, ironically, to the quality of Whitney's day, because this is a Whitney-focused episode, and she had a very bad day. I kind of went through a roller coaster of emotions with this episode and with this show. As I was watching it, I was typing grumpily in my notes about how this show is continuing to not go anywhere, when I finally came to an understanding of what this show is. Once I came to that understanding and I looked at this show through that lens, it's still very flawed, but I was able to find enjoyment in it, and I could see a version of this show that works very, very well. This version of this show almost could work very, very well. But in short, this is just a scripted, dramatic version of Impractical Jokers that should be 30 minutes instead of 60. If you look at it through that lens, you're going to have an entirely different experience than at least the one that I've had up to this point. And here's the thing. I don't hate this type of show. Like, now that I know what it is and I don't have an expectation of a forward-moving story with a point, like, I can watch this. Like, you know, you wouldn't like Impractical Jokers if you were expecting it to have a plot line, right? But a scripted, dramatic version of Impractical Jokers is, I think, a pretty good show if you start watching it with that expectation, and also if the episodes are considerably shorter. This shit is just way too fucking long each week. But this happened for me, this kind of like epiphany, like midway through the episode. And once I started watching with that expectation, the expectation of no expectations, the show became a lot more enjoyable. I mean, look, like, the cringe is expertly done on this show. It's absolutely outstanding. So, like, if you don't need a story and you go in just kind of expecting, like, cringe done by the Scorsese of cringe, then yeah, there's gonna be a lot to like here. And as it stands, all this show is set up for cringe scene, set up for cringe scene, and so on and so forth. And yeah, I think that can work in a 30-minute format, but when it's 60 minutes and there's no forward movement and it's just set up to get you from one cringe moment to the next, it just kind of makes the episodes a slog to get through. And that's going to be a flaw that's going to persist for the remainder of this season. And it's like they're going to watch this and be like, yeah, make them 30 minutes now. We're going to be getting hour-long episodes for the rest of the season. So each episode is going to be a slog. That's just what it's going to be. But looking at it through this lens now, I feel like it can be less of one. And I feel like if they wanted to keep doing this show, make it 30 minutes, and you can probably find something that's going to resonate a lot more with an audience and get a lot more eyeballs on it. But I want to talk about some of the setup for the cringe, and then the cringe, and some of these dynamics and how they play out in this episode. So For example, there's a big focus in this episode on Espanola being dangerous. And I don't really feel like that's been established up to this point in the previous 4 hours of long-ass episodes that we've seen so far. And yes, they said at one point, they wanted for Fernando to do security at the plaza. Whatever, though. That sounds like a standard job. Like, that doesn't mean that area or that city is dangerous. It's just every bunch of places got security. It doesn't mean that area is inherently dangerous. So initially, it felt like the city being presented as dangerous was out of left field, and that irritated me. I'm like, so it's a dangerous city now? Like, we couldn't establish that in the previous 4 episodes? But after I came to my realization on what kind of show this is, I realized that it wasn't established before because that's not meant to be world building for a show that's telling a story that takes place in this city. It's probably not even gonna matter after this episode. It was just set up for a cringe moment where Whitney tells an employee to let people steal and just charge her credit card for whatever they take. They just let them walk out, so that way we don't have to deal with the police coming here and feeding into the perception that this is a dangerous neighborhood. And like, that's all it was set up for that moment. Like, it's probably not even gonna come up again. And even if it does, it's probably just gonna be set up for another cringe moment. It's not like, I don't know, I already made my point. The Pueblos and the road easements, same deal. Set up for any cringe moment surrounding trying to get that couple to sign that letter. And then also kind of for the final scene as well. And like, this show it's not even about a curse anymore at this point, right? Like, are we even gonna see those kids and I'm the captain now again? Like, maybe, but like, I don't even think the curse is even gonna come up again. Think about all the other things too that were set up in previous episodes that have been completely ignored since, like Whitney's pregnancy, that fight that they had while their phones were recording, they didn't know it. They moved on as if that never happened. Like, it hasn't been brought up again. There hasn't been any kind of residual, like, man, we really got into it last night. Like, nothing has persisted. Whitney's pregnancy situation, none of that has persisted since it happened. And again, just like with Espanola being dangerous, that shit wasn't world building like I thought it was. It was just set up for big cringe set pieces in those respective episodes. So looking at the show through that lens, it's a lot more enjoyable of a show to watch. So I want to talk about what was done in this episode and what I thought worked and didn't work. Not everything, because like now that I kind of feel like I see this show, it's really like minor cringe moments and then like big set piece ones where you get one at the end and usually like one or two, earlier in the episode, like one at the beginning, one in the middle, one in the end, and then like little minor ones in between. I'm not going to talk about all of them, just kind of like the major ones, but I think the one that works best is the ending. Like, they set this ending throughout the episode, and to a degree, they've been setting it up all season. That Whitney doesn't want to sell these houses to people who don't give a fuck about the passive certification, and this has caused them trouble with finding a buyer. And we saw it last week with Vic and the stove, and then this week again with that couple and the husband who wanted the AC. That husband was on that show, Kevin Can Fuck Himself, that came on AMC Plus. Shit was terrible. It was a very creative show, and they tried something different. It just didn't work. Anyway, Asher has a guy who likes the house, but Whitney doesn't want to sell to a motherfucker with a Blue Lives Matter flag on his truck. And so she has all of these preconceived notions about this guy. And then we get to the ending, and the guy shows up, and he's like the sweetest, kindest guy imaginable. She doesn't even want to fucking shake his hand because he has a flag decal, but he's like the sweetest, kindest guy. He doesn't even have the flag up there to make a political statement. He's just like, yeah, they have hard jobs, so I want to show some love. like it must suck being a cop or a firefighter. And I'm just like, man, that's tough, so I'm gonna show some love. He's like, I throw the flag, the flag decal up, and he's like, I donate. And then she's like, oh, you donate to everyone? He's like, yeah, I donate to the police and to the fire department. And then he's like, he runs off like a UNICEF. And he's like, I donate to the church. It's like, this guy's fucking perfect, right? Completely nice guy. All of Whitney's preconceived notions are wrong. And then on top of that, he knows his passive home shit and is totally into the house. Like, he's like a huge fan. The perfect buyer for this house. He knows all of his shit. He appreciates all of the aspects of it that the other couple didn't appreciate, like the toilet. And I thought all of that worked so well because I think our takeaway here is that Whitney is grumpy at the end as they're walking away and with Asher in the bed because she didn't get to go full white woke liberal on this guy. And I just thought that was really an interesting way to end this episode. Like, this guy was perfect in every way for them, but she can't be happy because she really needed to come down on somebody after the day that she had. And he didn't give her a single opportunity to get preachy or talk down to him like she wanted. And I just thought that was a really dope scene. I liked and appreciated how they set it up. And I like that messaging of like, and I really think that's what it is. She was like chopping at the bit to go off on somebody and to go full fucking Karen. And that guy did not give her a single opportunity, even though she tried. Like, what's up with that flag? Like, he didn't give her a single opportunity. And I think that was like a woke white liberal being upset at not being able to go full white woke liberal. I thought that was really, really good stuff. Speaking of the couple who wanted the AC, let's talk about that easement real quick. So, in a general sense, an easement is like a legal right of access to land, and in this case, it's roads. I'm worked in that industry to a degree, so I have a stronger than a basic level of knowledge when it comes to that sort of thing. And the idea here is that the Pueblo tribe owns the roads that I'm sure they broke it down more so in probably whatever episode that was that had my man from Reservation Dogs in it. But I'm assuming it's the roads that maybe like lead into Espanola and then some that are maybe within Espanola. And they've been allowing people to use these roads for free. Like, this is our shit, but like, what are we gonna do? Like, hop out and get in the street and make people get out the car? Like, they allow people to use the roads for free, but they're starting to get tired of that and they want to be paid for it. Ideally through taxes. Wit has some letter that she downplays that is not a legal contract like she calls it, but it's actually, it's a letter that shows support for the Pueblos and for them wanting to profit from the use of their roads. But she downplays it because the problem is that this couple would be showing support for something that could affect the ability to access their homes, or what I think would more likely be the case, their taxes. Like, their taxes would probably go up to help pay the Pueblos for using these roads or whatever. And all of this stuff with easements and the letter was kind of like an Inception style setup for several cringe moments. So for starters, it sets up another example of Asher snapping on somebody like we saw with the reporter. And I think that was episode 1. That shit again came out of completely out of nowhere. I mean, my jaw dropped, totally blew me away. Man, I don't think they're going to get me with that a third time, but man, they got me again, man. Yeah, he can get me with that a third time. I don't know. I was feeling full of myself there. He'll get me a third time if he tries. Pause. But this prompts the potential buyers to leave, which sets up the need for new buyers, which sets up the other couple that we meet, as well as the man who it looks like they'll ultimately sell to at the end, Mark. So like I said, once you understand what this show is and what it's trying to do, it makes a lot more sense. It becomes a lot more enjoyable. I thought the payoff with the other couple was kind of weak. The one where the man starts singing, that was weird. Like, what the fuck is happening? But everyone was just standing there acting like it wasn't weird. And that just made the scene worse to me. Like, it made me feel like I was wrong for thinking it was weird. And I don't think that's what Safdie and Fielder are going for, but yeah, that was at first. It was like, what the fuck's happening? But everyone else is just standing there looking appreciative. I'm like, okay, so no one else thinks it's strange that he just broke out of the song, especially that song. Like, okay, I don't know. I don't think the goal was to make me feel like I was wrong for thinking it was weird, but if it was, mission accomplished. Another setup / payoff that I thought was kind of weak was whatever they were doing with being unsure if that Mike guy was recording their conversation. Like, I don't know if that scene was like the goal, or if that was like a setup for like a future scene. Like, I hope it's set up for them actually being recorded. It kind of felt like it was just meant to be uncomfortable in that moment, though. But yeah, there's a lot when I talk about the little scenes in between the big ones. It's kind of like that. Like, I don't know. I'm like, is this the thing? Like, is this the payoff, or is this set up for a bigger? Is this set up for one of the big, maybe like one of the big 3 set piece cringe moments in the next episode? So like, I don't really know. I feel the same way about the scene where Asher's looking for his phone and Dougie has it and he's installing dating apps on the phone. And he's like, I was going to show it to Whitney as a joke. And again, like, I don't know if that was meant to be an uncomfortable scene where we're sitting here like, is Dougie really trying to fuck Whitney? Because I think he probably is. But I just don't know if that scene was the payoff or if that was a setup for a bigger scene later where Dougie is going to try to make a move on Whitney or something like that. They also set up maybe a potential relationship between Kara and Dougie that Whitney's very clearly not into. That does seem like set up for payoff in a future episode, so I'm going to look forward to seeing where that goes, especially given everything with Dougie and his wife. Especially Kara sat down. She's like, I think she said 2 sentences. He's like, yeah, my wife died. Okay, this guy's not trying to get laid. I don't even know why Whitney thought it was a good idea to bring Kara in after how Kara played them in whatever episode that was before, where she played it with the food and shit. She very clearly doesn't like Whitney, but it tracks that Whitney would be oblivious to that, so I'm fine with it. And now I'm going to close by talking about one thing that I thought they did that was really great, and then I'm going to talk briefly about coverage moving forward, given the claims that I made at the end of the last video, which just came out yesterday. So, once Whitney realizes that the buyers on the show don't have to be actual buyers, she's willing to fake everything and wants to have the male of a couple go on the show touring the house with a woman he doesn't know and her baby. And she sends her assistant Tanya to basically tell him this, but the guy wants to go on the show with his actual girlfriend that he's there with. And Whitney goes to talk to him about it and immediately folds because her goal is to be liked by minorities. So why would she push back? But she can't just fold. She has to go overboard. And she's like, who told you that? Like as if someone's gonna be in trouble for giving this guy false information. And he's like, yeah, she did. And Whitney shifts, and then you can see Tanya standing right behind her. I thought that was a great moment. I thought it was shot magnificently. They totally fooled me. And if you rewind it, there's even a wider like profile shot of the two of them facing each other that you could tell once you know that Tanya is there. You could tell it's framed where she's just out of the shot. It's a really good job with that scene. I thought that paid off really well, that turnaround to Tanya standing right behind her. Even though nothing came of it, like it didn't make for an awkward moment, the awkwardness was very much felt. So I thought that was really good. Finally, I want to talk about coverage. I said last week if this episode wasn't good, that I was going to stop covering it and probably stop watching it. But now that I feel like I have the correct perspective on it, I think I want to give it another episode, watching it with like a new set of eyes and a new set of expectations, just to see kind of like how I feel. Like I know I'm not going to change my thought that the episodes are too long, but I do wonder if the show is going to become, now I was going to say more tolerable, but beyond that, if it's going to become enjoyable when I look at it through this way. So I'll see. We'll find out next week. I will be here at least next week for episode 6. So until then, peace.